Hi, friends. Welcome back to Live at the Roxy on day 305 of our quarantine edition of this show. It is the day after my half birthday, and my brother did not call me to say happy half birthday, so I had to have him on the show just so that I could scold him. Hi, Jet.
Happy belated half birthday.
Thank you so much. It's very kind of you to say.
You're very welcome. I mean, it's a big day. It's
Yeah.
funny that your happy half birthday wasn't like a bigger celebration. It's purely because of quarantine, right? Otherwise it would have been a massive thing.
Well, you joke, but every year I kind of like do something for it. Like, remember?
Give an example.
Well, After Buzz got me a cake for my half birthday and sang to me on air, and people got me cards and wrote happy half birthday cards to me. So that would be an example.
That's psycho.
Thank you. And the rock stars, because I know you don't watch my show every day. This was actually for my 300th episode, but it came late, so I opened it for my half birthday. Got me this really cool acrylic star that says,
"That's not psycho. That's awesome."
Yeah, it says, "Roxy Stryer, you shine like a star in your own special way and add a beautiful light to this world. Love the rock stars." Isn't that cute?
That is really amazing. That is better than the eventual Academy Award you'll win.
Ooh, you think before an Emmy? Wow. Interesting.
That's true. That's true. I guess it could be an Emmy first, but I just think it's an Oscar. Something's telling me.
We have a lot more important things to talk about on the show today than my eventual Emmy, Oscar, or whatever it will be, because this is a huge day for nerddom. I never know on this show what's going to break. That's the great thing about going live every single day, is that it's never too long before I'm able to talk about something. And a lot happened between yesterday's show and today's show. Ray Fisher, this is the first thing that I saw between yesterday and today, was Ray Fisher put out this very official Twitter post. Is that an oxymoron? It was a very official Twitter post.
It's not in 2021.
Yeah, I guess not. So it was a very official Twitter post. And I actually don't know how he does this. He puts images of text that looks like it's screenshotted for somewhere else. This is how he usually makes his announcements. And he let us know that he has been removed from The Flash and talked all about Walter Hamada. So we will break that down on this show because it was a little lengthy. And I definitely have some thoughts. I know Jet does too. Also, then this morning, I was shocked, Jet, that you even were awake for this. You were the one who informed me of this. So you were on top of the news that Chris Evans is in talks to reprise his role as Captain America in the MCU. Kind of massive. They made a very big deal about how he was leaving, how he was exhausted of playing this character, how he didn't want to do this anymore, and now he's in talks to come back for 1, possibly 2 movies. So that's worth breaking down. I told you guys yesterday I had seen WandaVision, the first 3 episodes, and you guys were not able to talk to me about it yet because the embargo hadn't dropped, but the embargo lifted this morning at 9 a.m. So I'm now officially able to talk about WandaVision. Of course, I won't give any spoilers because none of you guys have seen it yet, but I'm going to have Jet ask me some questions about it and talk to you guys about my non-spoiler review of the first 3 episodes of WandaVision. And you guys will be seeing the first 2 episodes of WandaVision tonight/tomorrow morning, depending on when you watch it. And then, because of popular demand, you guys want to know our thoughts on Armie Hammer. So I guess we're going to talk about the cannibal that is Armie Hammer and what is happening in 2021 with people's kinks. It is a thing. So we'll break that down. Plus questions, comments, concerns, streamlabs.com/Roxy Stryer, the super chat, and Patreon, because we have a guest on today. Anybody in the $10 up tier gets to ask a question. Speaking of which, I want to start right there because we had some questions come in for Jet. So Jet, these are all over the map, all about different things. So I just want to hit you with some of them to start.
Exactly how I like it.
Weston Ira said, my question for Jet, the Jet is, if you could buy and possibly remake a TV streaming service, which would you buy and what would you make it into? Great question, Weston.
The last one I would buy of ever would be Quibi. So not Quibi.
You know, Quibi, you know that Quibi's what's it called, was just bought.
Their IP?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
By who? Me? Was it me with the fake money I just got?
No, I'm wishing I remembered. It was a big player. It might have been Amazon. Somebody just bought Quibi's entire, maybe it was NBC, Peacock. Somebody just bought Quibi's entire library.
Was it because they needed the show that you were on and they're like, got it, we can't just let this die. Roxy's show must live.
I will give you all the money from today if you can name the name of the show that I was on.
It had to do with like questions about if you have ever kissed one of my friends. So I'm going to say it's called Kiss and Tell.
No.
Was I close?
No.
What's the name of it?
Sexology.
Oh, no, Kiss and Tell's pretty close. My name's better also.
Do you guys remember the time that I was in a movie?
Also super lame that it's called Sexology and you're on the show. Not happy about that.
Remember the time that I was in a movie, guys, and I worked my whole life to be in a movie and it was a huge deal and I like cried and went to the premiere and it was at Comic-Con and all this stuff. And my brother, my father, and my sister all have not seen the movie.
I saw your scene. You're a news anchor.
Mm-hmm. Okay, this will be fun.
But also,
lift your hands up, Jet. Lift both your hands up. Okay. What is the name of the movie that I am in?
Jason Mewes directed it.
I mean, that's what I'm working with, guys. That is what I'm working with. That is my life. Just want you guys to know. Okay. You can put your hands down.
Sexology?
Wouldn't that be a weird coincidence? I'm only taking projects from here on out that are called...
Oh, no, I remember now. It's called Method in the Madness.
It's actually not, which is hysterical because you read it from the chat, and it's called Madness in the Method. But it's so close. All right.
Wait, but I want to answer the question, too. I would buy Blockbuster streaming service, go back in time before Netflix came out with it, and make a gajillion dollars.
Okay, good for you. Maybe you can buy a theater and play my movie in it.
Madness and Sexology.
Madness in the Sexology. That is the sequel to both the show I was on and the movie.
Voyage of the Dawn Treader.
Going back into the Patreon, Chris Martinez says, "Hey, Roxy and Jet, today is my birthday. Happy birthday, Chris. I share my birthday with Dave Grohl. Oh my God, I love Dave Grohl. Which celebrity do you share a birthday with? Thanks." Do you know?
That you or that I share a birthday with? I don't know who you do, but I know I share a birthday with.
These are questions for you.
Oh, Ron Mercer.
Okay. Mine's Harrison Ford.
I'm sure I have more famous people that I share a birthday with, but Ron Mercer is the only one I remember and care about because he was on the Celtics.
All right. Interesting one. That's sure, it works for the question. Glenn Caesar said, "Hello, Roxy and Jet. Happy Thursday. Thanks for joining Roxy again today, Jet, and virtually hanging out with us. Here's my question for each of you. If you had complete creative control over both DC and Marvel, which characters would you have crossover temporarily into the other universe? One person or group from DC to Marvel and vice versa. Who would they interact with? I'm curious to hear each of your answers and your reasons why. Thank you."
That's a good question. Part of me, the comic nerd of me, kind of doesn't want to see them ever cross over because I like them as their own things. But if I had to pick, I would say the Flash from DC crossing over because it makes the most sense to me. Like his powers wise makes the most sense. And I would have from Marvel going to DC. I think Spider-Man would be that'd be really dope. I think everybody would say Spider-Man.
I have the exact same answers. Yeah.
I also think that Captain America would be really interesting interacting with Superman because they have very similar like values and leadership abilities, but Captain America has to deal with some limitations and Superman really doesn't.
Yeah, that is kind of interesting. I think that also in general, even though we're bringing them to each other's universe, Flash and Spider-Man would do something really cool together if they ever interacted. So I would like to see some kind of a team up between the two of them. But thank you for the question, Glenn Caesar. Always really appreciate you.
It could be a team up.
Thank you, Jet. But Leonard Kim in the Patreon says, "Hey, Roxy and Jet. Hope you're both doing well today. Jet, what 3 athletes do you currently enjoy watching the most?"
Peyton Pritchard on the Celtics right now because, as I've said before in the show, he is an Oregon guy like myself, and he is short and white like myself, which is the rare combination for a decent basketball player. So I like watching him mostly because he's on the Celtics and because he went to Oregon. So that's one of them. I'm going to try to hit every sport right now because I could just give all basketball players, but that wouldn't be fun. Football players right now who I'm enjoying watching. I'm really enjoying watching the lack of Patriots players because this was a miserable season. But if I had to pick an active guy that I'm enjoying watching, it's just nice seeing Tom Brady still do his thing at this age. I mean, it's kind of crazy watching a 43-year-old throw for 40 touchdowns. So I'd say Tom Brady. And I really enjoyed watching the college football championship game because just the unbelievable amount of talent that was out on the field from Alabama. Man, I enjoyed both their wide receivers. Devontae and Jalen Waddle were just phenomenal. So I'll cheat and say both the wide receivers from Alabama too, who are going to be in the NFL in a short matter of time.
I like that you started by saying you're going to hit every sport.
I hit 3 different ones. Well, I consider college football a different
sport.
Subsport.
It's not a different sport then.
The rules are a little bit different.
It's still football.
Do you know any of the rules that are different between college football and pro football?
Offsides.
No. You said it very confidently. But,
yeah, well, I just figured that one was a little difficult. Yeah, definitely about tackling. It's got to be something concussion based.
Yeah. Well, yes, there's a different targeting is different in college football. Or you can get tossed out of a game. In the NFL, you haven't so far been able to get tossed out of a game.
Okay, we're going to move it forward because we don't have enough time for whatever quiz show you want to put me on right now. Garth McMurray in this Patreon says...
You put me on a quiz show earlier. It was a very unfair one where I couldn't guess the name of your show or movie.
Yep, that is so unfair. Garth says, hey, Chunk and Jet, for both of you, which MCU show and movies are you most excited about seeing and why?
They know about Chunk?
Yes.
Do they know about Skittles?
Yes.
Is there anything they don't know?
Yeah.
Chunk. I love that.
Yeah, me too.
I was so distracted I forget the question. That's the question.
MCU movies and TV shows that you're excited about.
Everything. But in terms of the MCU movie that's on the that's supposed to come out this year, Chunk. That I'm most excited about. I kind of really excited to see Eternals, especially after all the buzz that Chloe Zhao is getting for Nomadland. I'd really like to see what it seems like she's the favorite for either Best Picture or Best Director. So seeing the sort of that new talent behind the camera for an MCU movie, and also I think that Eternals is going to set up a big part of this new phase of Marvel movies. So I'm really excited to see that. I also really like the cast. So I'm pretty excited to see that in terms of the ones that are coming out this year. In terms of the future stuff, I'm really excited to see Fantastic Four, just because I think it's been far, far too long that we haven't seen any sort of like decent Fantastic Four movie. And there's just no reason for it. They're such an awesome comic, and there's so many good characters in it that we deserve a great Fantastic Four movie.
I'm really excited right now for Shang-Chi because I just I'm in the middle of binging Kim's Convenience, which is not something that I had watched, and I didn't realize that Simu Liu is the guy in Kim's Convenience, and he is playing Shang-Chi, which I had no idea. And he is, I mean, this is going to take my nerddom card away from me, but he's so hot.
He's so hot. He's just like so hot.
I'm very excited for him. I'm also really excited for WandaVision because I'm 3 episodes deep and this show is fucking fire. So we'll talk more about that in a little bit. Let's jump into the Streamlabs, take a few questions in here. Also, you guys are being weird as fuck in the chat today. Like, weird as fuck. I don't know what
because they're calling you Chunk?
No. Jesse says, I can't hear a word this guy says because Roxy looks so sad. Can you look me in the eyes right now? Are you okay? I have no idea what you're talking about, Jesse. Carl says, don't be mean to Jet, Roxy. Come on, you're better than that. What the fuck are you talking about? He didn't know any of my shows or movies. I'm not being mean to him.
That's mean. That's really mean.
He's my brother. Yeah, you guys are just being weird as shit in the chat today. But What's Kim's Convenience? Spidey Sensei, that is a TV show that, similar to Schitt's Creek, was whatever that's called, CDC show. I don't think CDC is the right.
It's Canadian. Just say it's Canadian.
CBC or something. CBC. It's C something C. It's just clearly
Canadian
not
show.
CDC. Yeah, it's a Canadian show. The same channel that put out Working Moms, which is one of my favorite shows, that put out Schitt's Creek, which is one of my favorite shows, also has 4 seasons of this show called Kim's Convenience that's now on Netflix. So, and they're coming out with a 5th season this week, but I'm only on season 1. So, yeah, I need to
go faster.
I know. I really gotta catch the.
How are you ever gonna date Simu Liu at this point? You've only seen 1 season of his show.
Thank you, Spidey. CBC, Canadian Broadcasting Company. It would have been really weird if it was CDC.
What would the D stand for in CDC for Canadian?
Canadian Doing It Company. Okay. Yep. Yeah. Oh, yeah. All right. So going into the Streamlabs, like I said, streamlabs.com/Roxy Stryer. Let's see what questions, comments, concerns you guys have for us today. Like I said, it is the 14th of January. So that means that the first person to Streamlabs in today was Star Gonzalez. Hell yeah, Star. We're thinking about you still and rooting for you all the time. Star says, and Star lost a grandparent this week, I believe. So that's what we're sending bunnies to her still. She says, hey, Roxy, I hope you and the rock stars are having a beautiful day today. Just wanted to drop in and say that today is Chris's birthday. I know. Happy birthday to Chris Martinez. We adore you. And we adore you guys as a couple. Best rock star couple ever. Glenn Caesar in the Streamlabs says, hello and good afternoon, Roxy and Jet. Thanks again for being here with us, RJ, Skittles, Chunk, and to the both of you for hanging out with us. Peace, love, bunnies, and hugs to you, the rock stars, sending positive thoughts and good vibes, that things work out for the best, Roxy. As always, I hope that we can all find and feel some joy in each of our days, our weeks, our months, and our years. Don't ever forget, when it gets tough, we are not alone. We are not alone, even if we're by ourselves. So rock stars and world friend communities are here for you. Remember, everyone, you're kind, you're smart, you're important, you are worthy. So keep on being your terrific selves, because we appreciate you as always. Hashtag smash cancer. Keep up the fight, Smets, and everyone else who's battling. We are with you. And once again, Miles Cosgrove, Brett Hankinson, Jonathan Mattingly, arrest the cops who killed Breonna Taylor, all 3 of them for killing Breonna Taylor. Justice for all of the people who have lost their lives due to excessive force. Hashtag say their names. Thank you, Glenn, for always keeping us on our toes and always reminding us to say the important things. We really appreciate it. Speaking of police brutality and excessive force, I forgot to even talk to you about this, Jet. What's going on in Newton after that police shooting?
They're doing, their investigation. I guess Newton police officers do not wear body cams. Which
I know. How fucking crazy
I did not know that was the case.
But what is that?
There was also state police involved, and I guess some state police don't wear body cams too. So they need to really revamp what they're doing in Massachusetts with police officers and cameras.
Why did they claim that they weren't wearing the body cams? Because financially they couldn't afford them, or they just had never?
I just don't think in Newton they've never been outfitted with them.
But stateies?
I think some state troopers do, some state troopers don't. I'm not 100% sure. I think that I don't know. It's a state by state and municipality by municipality decision. And it's possible that Massachusetts, no state police officers wear body cameras. I don't know the answer to the question. But they're doing, their investigation, which will take time. And from the outside perspective, it seems to me, and that most people who read what happens, is that the shooting and the death could have been prevented had there been a counselor involved or a mental health professional involved, as opposed to just police officers. And I think, for the Newton police officers,
that's Jess Goldman's mom's shop, right?
Yeah, I do.
Have you seen her? I've seen Linda.
My high school crush, Brett Wiseman, used to work there.
Okay, not quite as relevant.
Pretty relevant.
Because I've seen Linda doing all of the press about it.
I didn't know that she's been doing the press about it, but I know that the person who was
because she's back at work,
who was killed, lived directly above the place because there's apartments above it. And that, like I said, I think if there was a mental health professional there, maybe this could have been prevented. And I think the Newton police are so not used to dealing with any sort of potential violence or death that they probably aren't super well trained with it, is my guess. And I think that you always just need to, when you're talking about somebody who is taking medicine to help their mood and help their state of mental health, that if there's a criminal complaint, it's important to take that into consideration and have somebody who could potentially help them, as opposed to just meeting it with shooting them. And they said the taser and the beanbag, you fire a beanbag out of a shotgun at high speed, that didn't work. I don't know what that means exactly. I don't know if that means they missed or that the person was just like somehow withstood a taser, but it does seem like it could have been prevented. It is really sad. And if it turns out that the guy was intent on doing people harm and charged them with a knife and they exhausted all their options, then I get it. You have to protect yourself. For
those of you guys who have no idea what Jet is talking about right now, just feel free to look up.
Yeah, sorry, I was rambling.
You totally were, but it is okay. We're going to move forward. But thank you for your analysis on the situation. Let's move on to the next Streamlabs, streamlabs.com/Roxy Stryer. Morse code Z says stage 2 root canal done. Seemed to go okay. Weird eating with half a lip numb. Also can't wait for WandaVision and kind of surprised Evans is coming back so soon. Also, hi, Jet. Well, if anybody can relate to teeth issues, it is Jet. He's had several, so we're feeling for you right now.
Root canals suck, but it's nice to not be in pain anymore after they're done. So it's worth it. If you had a root canal, you were in pain before.
Yeah, of course. Apollo 3JP says, what up, Miss Stryer? How's your Thursday going? Side note, Cap coming back is kind of lame. I guess nothing means anything in this franchise. Also, those Army Hammer tweets are wild. Dude is a psycho. Well, we'll talk about that in a little bit. Both those things, actually. Hitman Hudson says, question for Jet. Texas A&M is the real number 2 team in college football as far as final rankings go, right? All the people clowning on the Aggies for losing to Bama by 28 in week 2 should be eating their words after OSU lost by the exact same score.
I don't think they'll end up being ranked number 2. I think it may very well end up being Ohio State's ranked number 2. Also, Alabama was just so much better than everybody else this year. It's hard to determine. If you follow me on Twitter or any of my YouTube stuff, you see that I completely hate the system that's in college football right now. I think it's virtually impossible to determine what teams are the best because there's only 4 playoff spots, because the preseason rankings have far, far too much to do with where you finish up. It's a terrible system. So I don't know where Texas A&M should be ranked or will be ranked, but I know that this season was pointless in being played and that the system needs to be completely overhauled. Pay the athletes.
Let's talk about some of the news that we want to talk about, and then I'll get to more of these Streamlabs. Keep sending them in throughout streamlabs.com/Roxy Stryer. But I want to get to some of the big news stories today because we are 24 minutes into the show, and we have yet to talk about Chris Evans, who is apparently going to be or in talks to reprise his role as Captain America. I think this came as a big surprise to a lot of the people who are super nerds or who watch the show or who pay attention to the MCU at all, because Chris Evans was the most vocal about his departure from the MCU. It seemed like he wanted to take on more indie projects, that he had been playing Captain America for too long, and that when he said enough is enough, that's part of the decision that they made. I don't want to give any major spoilers, but it's why they ended that phase of the MCU the way that they ended that phase of the MCU, because they were closing a door to his character. Now, only a couple years later, we're hearing that he's in talks to come back for 1, possibly 2 movies. Jet, what do you think of this news?
I mean, I think it's great because I love Chris Evans as Captain America. He's my favorite Marvel character of the MCU, and just encapsulates everything that Captain America is in real life too. I mean, like when he was at the Oscars, he's helping, people off the stage. He's constantly tweeting out about President Trump's awful behavior. So I love Chris Evans. He just so happens to be another Boston guy. And I love his portrayal of Captain America, who's always been one of my favorite comic book characters. I am surprised because...
Do you remember my high school acting teacher before David Bloom? Do you remember Ryan DeBray?
Yes.
No, you don't. Wow. You don't remember anything about my life. He was an amazing, amazing teacher.
Chunk is your nickname.
And anyway, he's also married to Chris Evans's sister. So I remember he used to fly out for all of the stuff. And also Chris Evans is friendly with Maria Menounos because they are both Boston people as well. And from everybody that I know who has met him or talked to him, I hear that he is just like the best. And what you just talked about on Twitter and all of that too. But that's why I'm a little torn about this, Jet, because didn't you feel like when he left, he really, really felt done with the character and wanted to leave?
Yeah, I think that he did, and I think that they gave him a perfect ending. I mean, it was emotional and made me tear up definitely during Endgame when the last scene was for a reason with him and not with Iron Man or Robert Downey Jr. Um, that being said,
although I think Iron Man's departure was probably the more emotional one.
Yeah, it was, but I mean, there's a reason I think they ended it with Chris Evans, Captain America, and that was the final beat of the movie or that whole era of Marvel. I do think actors change their mind frequently, and I don't know how recent he's been in discussions. If it was yesterday, he said I wanted to take it up, be Captain America again. Part of me feels like what just happened last week and what's been happening the past few weeks with all the strife going on in the Capitol in this country, and maybe it made him feel like, hey, I kind of feel like as Captain America, I have a bigger voice, or I can sort of encapsulate the things that are supposed to be good about this country as opposed to the symbol.
Wow, so I wasn't thinking about that at all. You're drawing a direct correlation between the fact that you think that what was going on in the world has pushed Chris Evans to think that we need a Captain America.
I think it's certainly possible. Again, it didn't specify in the report from Deadline, who broke the story, how long talks have been going on. And I'm saying, knowing what I know about Chris Evans, is that he is very politically involved, and he does know what's going on in the country, and he hates the living crap out of Donald Trump and the whole, that the movement of lying and sort of degrading the truth and everything like that. It would not surprise me if that motivated him or pushed him towards going back to Captain America. Now, just because he's going back to he's in talks to go back to Captain America doesn't mean it's going to be the same Captain America that we saw in all the movies. Could very well be more of like a mentor role. He could still be old man Captain America. They could pull Captain America from a different multiverse. Doesn't mean we're going to be seeing the same iteration of him. And I think that's where you trust the creative people like Kevin Feige at Marvel to make it work. I mean, they always have backup plans in place, and I'm sure in the back of their mind, they always said, well, what if, Chris Evans does want to come back? How can we make this work? And I trust them enough. I think they have enough of a track record of success to trust them creatively into making this work. And that I think anybody says, oh, well, that really cheapens his exit, really should hold off until you see exactly how they do it. Because
speaking of
remember, he's not dead either in the MCU. He's just old.
Right. He's old, and he went back. It depends on where and when we are in the MCU, because it's also a storyline that they've talked about not necessarily making as much sense as some of the rest of the things timeline wise. Like, how does that all work? But if we are seeing him in one movie, and then we'll talk about if we're seeing him in two movies, but if we do see him again in one movie, what do you want to see him in? I think it's very, very unlikely, as they stated in the article, that it would be a Captain America movie. So very likely that he makes an appearance in, I don't know, maybe a Spider-Man movie or I don't know what the options are. What do you think?
My first inclination is to say put him in a Spider-Man movie, because now that Iron Man's gone, Spider-Man doesn't really have that mentor, and you saw him look for it in Mysterio, obviously, in the last movie, and that wasn't a good one because Mysterio turned out to be a dick. And but I also, part of me wants to see Spider-Man sort of be able to step out on his own and be a leader. So, I don't really know where I want Captain America to pop up. It does seem like it would be in some sort of mentor role, right? Though, especially based on if he's going to be older, you're not going to be, constantly fighting people in an elevator. So I'm not sure where I'd like him to show up. But again, I trust the Kevin Feige vision of what would make the most sense. The immediate thing that pops to my mind is sort of like a Batman Beyond sort of thing, right? Where he's mentoring a new Captain America or something along
As
those lines.
old Captain America?
Yeah, that's the first thing that pops into my head, but I don't know that that's the way they're going to go or that that's the best route for it. But I think that would also be pretty cool, especially if they somehow beat DC to the punch with that. I think that would be funny and interesting.
What do you guys think? Let me know in the Streamlabs, streamlabs.com/Roxy Stryer, or right here in the super chat. Morse code Z in the Streamlabs says Cap on a Loki episode. I think that if they are going to save him for one, if he is in talks for one thing, I kind of doubt it's going to be a Disney Plus thing. It sounds like it would be one of the movies. Do you think there's any chance, Jet, that what he's really in talks for is something like a Loki show or a Falcon and the Winter Soldier or any kind of appearance on the TV shows?
I wouldn't be surprised if he's already shot a quick cameo in Falcon and Winter Soldier and they're just keeping that under wraps. I don't think that necessarily has anything to do with this news story from Deadline.
Mm-hmm.
But I wouldn't be surprised if he pops up because, again, he's alive and it would make sense in terms of the story. I could see him on the Disney Plus thing if it's a limited Captain America series, right? Like if it's, I know a lot of people have wanted to see how did he return those Infinity Stones? Is there a cool story there? So maybe it could be something for like that that sort of fills in the blanks of Endgame.
That would be an awesome series.
So I could see that but I don't think it would be for like a Disney Plus show cameo, like on Loki. I don't think it would be this sort of story if that was the extent of it.
Staying in the realm of Marvel for a second in the Streamlabs, streamlabs.com/Roxy Stryer, Jake Yakavetta said, glad you finally started Kim's Convenience. I've only been trying to tell you to watch it for a year and a half. Laugh my ass off. And I told you Simu Liu was going to be Shang-Chi a few times whenever I suggested the show. Well, Jake, we all know how much I listen to
Also,
you.
the dad's in The Mandalorian.
Who is he in Mandalorian?
He's one of the X-Wing Rebel pilots.
Oh, the dad's great in the show.
He's a huge Star Wars fan in real life. That's why they put him in the show, because he's a massive Star Wars fan.
Really, he's excellent. Let me know what you guys are thinking. If he's in one movie, what do you want to see that movie be? If he's in two movies, what do you want to see it? I saw a lot of you guys in here saying possibly Doctor Strange.
I know you don't like Doctor Strange, but you're in the minority, and also it would make sense storyline, right? If a different Captain America coming.
That's what you think.
You could also have him introduce the MCU to the Fantastic Four or to the X-Men if he's from a different universe. He could.
I like that better than Doctor Strange.
Leave Benedict Cumberbatch alone.
I love Benedict Cumberbatch. I don't like Doctor Strange.
Do you like Sam Raimi? Because he's directing the new one. So
I do like Sam Raimi. You know I like every single Spider-Man movie that's ever existed.
Give Sam Raimi, Rachel McAdams, and Benedict Cumberbatch a chance, Roxy. Jeez. They know they would give In the Method of Madness a chance.
Who is it? You got it wrong again. Who was the third person you said? Rachel McAdams?
Yeah.
Who's she? I know who the actress is.
Doctor Strange's love interest.
In what?
Doctor Strange.
Rachel McAdams was in Doctor Strange?
See, now I think you didn't even watch it.
I don't think I even remember. I've seen it twice.
When
was Rachel McAdams in Doctor Strange?
Or were you watching a different Benedict Cumberbatch thing?
Wait, I remember Tilda Swinton.
Yep.
I remember BD Wong.
Sure.
You're telling me that Rachel McAdams...
those who were also in Endgame, so maybe you just saw
I
Endgame.
literally don't remember Rachel McAdams being in the movie. I don't remember him having a love interest.
It was Rachel McAdams. Also, Mads Mikkelsen was in the movie.
Did they have any... Yes. Did they have any chemistry?
She wasn't in it for that long. That was the complaint. But she's in it.
Wow, I literally have not seen the movie in a while. I did see it twice, though. I don't remember.
Did you?
Yeah. Yeah. I said, do they have any chemistry? And everybody in here, G. Smith says, no. Melissa said, no. Stefan, no. Pink Streets, no. DK, no. Zilch, so good. Oh, it's amazing. All right, we're going to move forward. Let's move on to talking a little bit about the Ray Fisher situation, because I have talked about the Ray Fisher situation on this show countless times, but we finally have a full-blown update for you guys. And let me know what you guys are thinking as we were talking about this. Send in your comments, streamlabs.com/RoxyStryer right here in the super chat as well. I'm not going to read the entire official Twitter statement because it is lengthy, but I will tell you guys what happens in it in case you guys did miss out on this. This was posted right after our show, this show yesterday. It was posted, I believe, at like 3 p.m. yesterday. And Ray Fisher has had released a statement last week being like them saying that I'm not in The Flash is not true. We're still in talks. We're in negotiations, all of that. But this statement starts with the fact he says, I have received official confirmation that Warner Brothers Pictures has decided to remove me from the cast of The Flash. I strongly disagree with their decision, but it is one that is unsurprising. Despite their misconception, Cyborg's involvement in The Flash was much larger than a cameo. And while I do mourn the lost opportunity to bring Victor Stone back to the screen, bringing awareness to the actions of Walter Hamada will prove to be a much more important contribution to our world. He then goes and lays out all of the reasons why he believes or why he's standing by the fact that he cannot work with Walter Hamada. He mentions the fact that Walter Hamada tried to impede the investigation, which he has talked about before, saying that that Walter tried to protect his friend Jeff Johns because Ray was coming after Jeff Johns, saying that he had inappropriate and racist behavior, and that many people apparently, according to Ray, had come forward talking about it, but nobody else is being named because everybody else wants to stay anonymous, and that Walter was trying to protect him more than he was trying to come to the truth, and that he will not work with him. And Ray thanks the people who were brave enough to use their voices, even though they're not giving their names, and says that if this is the fact that this is how Cyborg dies, then so be it. So he signs off A over E, which we know stands for accountability over entertainment, is how he signs off all of his messages. And then he gives a quote at the bottom that says, you will reach a point in life where you simply must take a stand. So this was a lot. And I think the biggest losers here obviously end up being Ray Fisher and the audience, who aren't going to get a Cyborg probably. Not in the Flash movie, not in the Justice League 2, unless they recast him. What do you make of all of this, Jet? What did you think about his 2-page response to all of this? And are you surprised that we're not going to be seeing Ray Fisher as Cyborg in the Flash?
I think it's a really, really complex story with a lot of different moving parts. Obviously, this has taken place, and this is the final outcome of over. When did they even shoot the initial Justice League? 3 years ago? 4 years ago?
It came out 3 years ago, so it must have been 4 years ago, right?
So it's been a process that's sort of led to this conclusion that's, let's call it 5 years in the making.
Mm-hmm.
Am I surprised? Definitely no, because it seemed like it was heading in this direction for a while. I don't really know fully what to make of the situation, because so much of it is like redacted or like you said, people are anonymous. I think that there's a lot of negative culpability for Warner Brothers and DC and Jeff Johns and Joss Whedon and how they acted on set. And I'm sure it wasn't appropriate at all. I do think also you have to look at Ray Fisher and say, man, he didn't necessarily go about this in a really smart way or a really good or professional way. And what were his expectations working on a set for a big movie? Were his expectations unreasonable for his role in a movie that had a lot of star power, a lot bigger star power than him? And was he just being sort of butthurt that he wasn't necessarily going to be in the movie for longer, or wasn't necessarily being treated with the same sort of maybe kid gloves or same sort of cachet as a Ben Affleck or a Henry Cavill or even a Gal Gadot? I don't know. And I don't know that we'll ever necessarily know the full story, but I think to look at it and say this was clearly only on Warner Brothers and Jeff Johns, or this was only on Ray Fisher, is wrong. I think that there's culpability both ways in terms of how people acted. And maybe the initial wrongdoing was purely by Warner Brothers and Jeff Johns and Joss Whedon, etc., but that Ray Fisher has now proceeded to sort of torpedo his career by how he's gone about this.
I think that you and I are in a little bit of a disagreement here.
Huge.
What'd you say?
A scotch of disagreement.
But you said scooch.
Yeah, but I meant scotch. Rouge or rote?
It would have been better.
Rouge.
Okay. So here's what I believe about the Ray Fisher situation. I want to start by saying the fact that I absolutely believe that what he's saying is true. I believe A, in how he feels, and B, in what he observed. I believe that he feels he was treated unfairly. I believe that he was treated differently than he expected to be. And I believe that there is racism in Hollywood and that there was racism on the set. And I don't know actually almost any set in Hollywood that has thousands of people involved in making a movie that probably doesn't have racism going on, which is fucked up. I believe that there was inappropriate behavior. We learned a little bit about the gal scene with her not wanting somebody on top of her. I believe what he's saying. I feel awful because I think he was really poorly advised in this situation or did not take advice in this situation. And I think that his career is going to be very negatively affected by this. And I don't think that that's fair because I think he really was doing what he believed to be right and what is right, which is making sure that sets have better treatment of their people of color, women, anybody who is a minority or just talent in general, who often are treated like shit. Oh, and non-talent too. People on set, just in general, are often treated like shit by producers. So this is awful. And as somebody who only spent about an hour and a half with this guy, I thought he was a really, really sweet, nice dude who was so excited to be a part of this industry, and it seemingly chewed him up and spit him out. I also think there is merit to what he's saying, considering the fact that we saw how quickly Warner Brothers parted ways with Joss Whedon. Clearly, people continued to cover for and work with Joss Whedon despite years and years of history of Joss Whedon apparently not being a great guy. The fact that Warner Brothers parted ways with him means that they did find some things. It is a sad truth that so many people aren't speaking up right now and saying, I also felt this way, but I understand why. They don't want to happen to them what happened to Ray, which is that he lost his job because he felt that he was experiencing unfair behavior or witnessing unfair behavior, and he spoke out publicly and he lost his job. So of course everybody else is going to feel scared shitless to speak out about it. Now, I do wish that we had more specific examples, of course. Of course, I wish when he says that there was racism, I knew what exactly he was referring to. I wish that we could have more of a tangible understanding of what happened, but he says it and I believe it because I think that this is a situation in which he's only hurting himself. So why would he say it if it was not true? I don't know how this is going to bode for other sets and other actors and other people who have issues with Warner Brothers or the studios that they're with. I do think that there needs to be a safer way to come forward. I think that the way he did it was not great. However, I don't know a great way to come forward. If you are experiencing this, it sounds like prior to going to Twitter, prior to going anywhere, he went to his boss. He went to Hamada and he said, I'm experiencing this. And Hamada tried to bury it. I've liked Hamada for a really long time. I've listened to his interviews. I think that he has a really good grasp on the content that's created there. And I have been a fan of his. But just because somebody's your friend doesn't mean that they are treating people fairly. And clearly Walter Hamada put Jeff Johns first in this situation. Jeff Johns is also a way bigger money-making machine for them than Ray Fisher is. So it's also a business decision for him. A lot of thoughts on this, and nervous for Ray and what's going to happen to him in the future. He's already been cast, I saw like a month ago, on a TV show. So hopefully he'll manage to work his way out of this. I'm sure playing Cyborg was a lifelong dream for him, as he talked about on DC Movie News. And nobody likes to see their dreams taken away. So I do feel for him in this moment. And I hope that even though he is being let go, I hope that Warner Brothers makes the changes that they need to make, and that this has opened up Walter Hamada's eyes. And I've also been a fan of Jeff Johns for a really long time, by the way. So, but it doesn't mean they're great people. And there's always other people for the job that are good people. DC is stepping in a lot of shit these days. Warner Brothers is stepping in a lot of shit these days between the Johnny Depp, Amber Heard, Ezra Miller, Ray Fisher, Jeff Johns, John Berg, Walter Hamada, Joss Whedon situations. And I think that at some point they're going to have to do an entire introspective, what are we going to do? Because this kind of stuff is still going to happen if they do not work to fix it. So those are my thoughts on the Ray Fisher situation. Would love to hear from you guys. Carl Maxey says, I think Ray Fisher and John Boyega should collab. They've been tweeting at each other, and it seems like they would like to. I think that they would be great partners in crime. So there's that. Jesse Ray Whipple says, Rox, are you okay? Are you drinking water? Are you eating? Have you slept? Jesse, what are you talking about,
Jesse
my dude?
is very concerned about you.
Yeah, because I have so much love for Jesse, but I don't know what like, you're making me feel bad because you're making me feel like I look like shit or that I'm not acting normal, and I feel okay. So I don't know what's going on, Jesse. Why are you asking those things? Carl says I can recommend good Doctor Strange comics, Roxy. Well, apparently I should probably rewatch the movie, but I don't want to. Prince That Wasn't Promised says, what about Cap as a Skrull? Maybe Secret War. Wow, that would be wild. Going back to that Cap conversation. But staying here, focusing on Ray Fisher. Any more thoughts on the situation, Jet?
So do you not think that it's possible at all? I believe him too. I'm not saying he's lying at all. Do you think it's not possible that he went into production of Justice League with unreasonable expectations about how much he was going to be in the movie and how he would be treated compared to like a Ben Affleck?
I do, but I think that has nothing to do with his accusations. I think that he was more in the movie, and then Joss Whedon cut him out. So I think that that probably was a big bummer for him, but I think that has nothing to do with him accusing him of being racist.
Yeah, I think that I'm just looking at it as, I think if it was super, super cut and dry, and maybe this is just me being a ridiculous optimist, that he was being treated like shit and didn't do anything wrong other than speak out, that this wouldn't be the outcome of the situation, and that there must be more to it from the Warner Brothers perspective, that Ray was either doing something that had some expectation that was unreasonable, or wasn't, giving the complete and accurate picture of what was going on. I just had to find it hard to believe that if it was simple as Joss Whedon or Jeff Johns were doing racist shit on set, and Ray was a hero speaking out and said, I'm not going to take this anymore, that this would be the outcome, that he gets dragged and fired. Maybe that's just me being way too optimistic.
But then why did they let go of Joss Whedon? If Joss Whedon wasn't doing anything wrong, then why would they let go of him?
Well, they don't have any reason to continue to employ him. He wasn't slated to direct anything for them. Well,
yes, he was.
Right. But that's not even cast.
But Warner Brothers in general was working with Joss Whedon and is now not working with Joss Whedon. So you don't think that there was any validity found there?
No, I think that there is.
Ray specifically cited that they let go of Joss Whedon because of what they found.
Do you think
and said that they are probably going to phase out Jeff Johns because of what happened. And if we see that now, then we know that they found something.
Do you think there's a chance that Ray did something wrong besides how he went about it?
No.
Okay.
Like what?
I don't know, because so much of it is
black. I mean, like, I don't know how he could have. What could Ray Fisher have done? I do think the way he went about it was not helpful. But what could he have done?
No one seems to know.
But nobody's ever said he did anything. Like, why are you posing that question?
I just don't think if he came forward and everything that he said was found out to be true, that he would now be fired, which is essentially what happened.
That's exactly what happened. So you think he made some things up? Is that what you're saying?
I think that he had some. I think that there was things that were said to him or done to him that were definitely racist, and I think some other examples that he probably had experienced were things that happen on a set to people who aren't the star of the movie or TV show.
I'm just confused on what you're saying. You asked me if I thought Ray Fisher did anything wrong. What are you saying that he could have done wrong?
I maybe felt slighted because he wasn't being treated the same way, like in terms of being handled like a celebrity as the other people on the set.
So then made these things up?
Not made him up, but was seeing things that weren't actually happening to him.
Okay.
Not in every example. I'm saying partially in some.
Like, you think he was reading into the situations because he already felt slighted?
Yeah, possibly. I'm not saying that's what happened, but
yeah, you're asking. I get what your question is. I just don't see that happening because I think that he's smart enough to know that when he's pushing for a lie detector test and he's pushing for an investigation and he's pushing for all these things, I think at some point you have to know they're going to investigate. So why would he be pushing for more investigation if he was not positive that things were happening? Or why in his presentation would he talk about how there are plenty of other people who came forward? They just aren't being named. Like, that would be, people could prove that. If that was not true, people could prove that pretty easily. So that's why I don't believe that. And he's stepping away from the role of a lifetime. So he must really strongly feel this way. And I don't think it's just ego, because if it was, I think that at some point he would have been like, why Walter Hamada? Walter Hamada wasn't even the original Conversations, but that's who he's decided he won't work with. Well, that's the head of the proverbial snake.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
I'm not saying that any of that did happen.
No, you're posing the question. I understand. I didn't get what your question was. Now I get it.
Yeah, I get it. It wasn't very well phrased because it was sort of like a stream of consciousness thing, because I honestly, what is a very possible situation is the obvious, that he spoke out and was essentially fired because he spoke out. And that just sucks. That makes me, I don't want to believe in a world where that happens. So I'm trying to come up with something else in my head. Riley
in the Streamlab says, Ray Fisher has never given specifics in regards to what actually happened on the Justice League set. I can't support him until he provides evidence and witnesses. Trial by vague Twitter accusations is a dangerous thing. I hear you, Riley, because I think it is frustrating. I think at first he wasn't giving specifics because this was a legal and ongoing investigation. At this point, I don't know why he is not giving specifics, but there might be a reason behind it. I know that there are things in my life that I don't give specifics about on here because he might be still subject to possible lawsuits. And it's not because things are not real. It's because it might open up a completely different can of worms. So there's a lot of different reasons in which he might not he might not give specifics, and we can speculate on them. But at the end of the day, until he does, or unless he does give specifics, we really won't know what happened there. Interesting point though, Riley. Jake Yacovetta says, Jesse Ray Whipple said, he's dealing with some issues mentally, and during this show, he contacted his social worker and doctors to try to get everything balanced out with his meds. Good luck to him for his surgery next week, and the rock stars are here to listen. Oh, got it. Thank you for letting us know. And Jesse, I hope you're all right. Maybe projecting a little bit, looking at me, seeing things inside yourself, and I get that, and I hope you're okay. And I'm glad that you reached out to a professional, and we're here for you. Cinema Garia says, as an intern at Warner Brothers who was also a witness/victim to the abuse/false promises, I made my social media to fight alongside Ray and try to educate others in this geek world. I've noticed people don't like being told the truth and always stick to the headlines. Ray has given multiple specific examples, like how they threatened to replace him with Cyborg from Doom Patrol, like how they ignored Gal rejecting a scene where Flash lays on her breasts, but people only like the headlines. They forget about the details. Thank you, Cinema Garia, for this. I forgot that you were a WB intern. I do remember the story with Lang on Gal, as I mentioned on the show. I did not hear about how they threatened to replace him with Cyborg from Doom Patrol. I would love to see that. But if they did threaten to replace him with Cyborg from Doom Patrol, is he citing that as an example of abuse of power or what? Because Cyborg from Doom Patrol obviously is also black. So I don't know that would be an example of racism, but I would love to hear more about that. And Cinema, please keep letting us know if you have more examples or more things that you saw. We would love to hear more. All right. Moving forward, these are some big topics today.
Yeah,
guys.
I mean, it's a complex, really complex story. Like we said, it's been going on over 5 years, and behind the scenes in courtrooms and boardrooms, and there's
An
so much
investigation.
we know way less than there actually is. What we only know is a little sort of tip of the iceberg about everything that goes on. There's far more we don't know than what we do know.
Yeah. I don't know about far more, but definitely more. Definitely more. I'm looking at this right now because Jake Yakovin on the Streamlabs just said Chris Evans just tweeted out news to me, and I just looked, and yeah, he didn't quote tweet anything. He didn't say anything. He just tweeted out news to me with that emoji that looks like this. What do you make of that, Jet?
I think that is pretty standard for anybody involved in a Marvel project. I believe Tatiana Maslany pretty recently, right, like about 2 weeks before she was confirmed as She-Hulk, said, "This isn't true. I've never heard this. This is news to me." So that's pretty standard for the Kevin Feige Marvel these days, where they don't reveal anything until it's actually.
So do you think it was leaked?
Yeah, probably.
Lloyd Nance in the Streamlabs, streamlabs.com/Roxy Strider just sent a little bit of love in there. I appreciate that, Lloyd. My first super chatter ever. You are the greatest. I also heard that you're Rob Fishbeck's first. So Lloyd making his way through as the first for a lot of different people. You are great. Let's continue to talk about the news. Let's talk about the news. In the world of news, I guess it's more of a review. I was able to see WandaVision, and I saw the first 3 episodes of WandaVision. Thank you so much to Disney for sharing those with me. And I have to say, like I tweeted, the show is phenomenal. I was highly concerned coming into it because Wanda is my favorite character. Scarlet Witch is my favorite character. And I was nervous because when we saw everything going on with that Mary Tyler Moore-esque kind of trailer that everybody saw, I was nervous that this show was going to depict a crazy woman who goes crazy and is stuck in this crazy world and this crazy life. And I don't particularly like in 2021 just showing crazy women and how crazy they are and why women can't handle things. So I'm happy to say, without any spoilers, that that's definitely not what this show is showing. This show is very, very witty. It's really original. I will say that I'm glad they gave us the first 3 because I do believe they should drop the first 3 at once. They're only dropping the first 2, and the 3rd episode really hits. I think that's why they gave it to the critics, so that they could see where the show is going more, because 1 and 2 are more similar and the 3rd one picks up in a different kind of way. So if you're not that into 1 and 2, although I think you will be, I still would tune in the next week for the 3rd one. I cannot believe how talented Elizabeth Olsen is. She finally gets to really be Wanda here and shine. And it's really incredible. A lot of people are talking about right now how she should definitely be nominated for an Emmy for this performance. And it's a beautiful, nuanced performance. And I didn't know that this is what she was going to bring to the table. I also really like old-timey shows like I Love Lucy or Mary Tyler Moore. So I think that the way that they stylize some of this is very cool. And I cannot wait to watch episode 4. So that's how I'm feeling about WandaVision. Any questions for me? Jet, chat, Streamlabs, Super Chat?
Is it Marvel-y?
No, it's definitely not Marvel-y. the show it's interesting that this is the first show that they are launching on Disney Plus as an MCU show, because it's definitely not Marvel-y, but it is fantastical and it is superhero-y and it is true to who these characters are. You know, you don't watch this and think, that's not Vision would never, Wanda would never. You don't watch it and think that, but at the same time, you see this and it's not like anything else we've seen in Marvel, so I definitely wouldn't call it Marvel-y.
Is there anything that you could compare to that you've ever seen before on TV? I mean, obviously they're doing homages to other classic TV shows, but in terms of like the overall thing they're going for.
No, there's really not, because it's not a parody, because it's not poking fun at any genres. It's borrowing from different genres and mastering them and then changing it up the following episode or moment. So I've never seen anything like it. I've seen things like it in terms of the shows that I just mentioned. It's in a similar style to a lot of those shows at first, but it almost, I guess there's like some Wizard of Oz elements to it, where you think you're watching one thing and then you're watching another thing. And it kind of feels like the first time I've seen something like this. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I've heard in some of the spoiler-free reviews that I've read too, that like exactly like you said about Elizabeth Olsen, that she's fantastic, but also that Paul Bettany is terrific in it too.
He is
and
really
a lot
great.
Funnier than people thought he was in terms of his humor.
Yeah, he's really great. He's very great in this. I will say that it is called WandaVision.
Mm-hmm.
To me, it is Wanda with Vision. Like, this is Wanda's show.
Right. There's a clear hierarchy of she's the main character, he's a secondary character.
I feel that way. A lot of other people I've seen have not felt that way. But to me, I feel like Wanda is the protagonist of this show and Vision is unbelievable support to her. And I think that their relationship in this show, their dynamic, is so endearing and heartwarming. And I actually wish we got to see more of this in the MCU prior to this. I wish we got to see this more on the big screen, because like I said, Wanda's my favorite character and I love WandaVision, but I love Wanda and I love Vision. But this is the first time I feel like we really got to live with these characters, as neither of them have a standalone movie.
Right. How's their chemistry? Do you feel like that now that you're seeing more of them one-on-one?
It's fire. It's unbelievable. You know, when you watch people and you're like, they must in real life be very close, because otherwise you don't like act like that. They're just really, really good.
It's so funny.
Impressive.
The evolution of Vision that they got Paul Bettany to was literally just the voice of Jarvis. And then he was a voice in a helmet. And now he's a full-blown character on a TV show on Disney Plus.
Yeah, and he's excellent, and he's truly, truly excellent. So it's very exciting. I can't wait for you guys to watch it. We'll talk about it more on tomorrow's show. But thank you guys for letting me blab about WandaVision, because this show is phenomenal, and I can't wait for you guys to see it.
I'm very jealous that you got a screener.
Well, you're going to watch it tonight, right?
But I want to watch it now.
Mm-hmm. Going back into the Streamlabs, streamlabs.com/Roxy Stryer. Chrome Expersion says, as a Black filmmaker, I've been on mostly white sets on high-level union jobs. I've had a similar experience with a network primetime show and left due to certain boss treatment. When you speak up, it's always easier to let you go and replace you. It's a sad reality. Well, thank you for sharing that. I'm so sorry to hear that took place with you on a primetime show. And I really hope that in the future you're able to let your filmmaking ability shine and that you are able to speak up. I think that it's a huge movement that's going on in not just the entertainment industry, but the world right now. And hopefully that's not the case in the future, but I'm really sorry that happened to you. That sucks. That sucks. Going into these super chat, Gizmo First Blood Part 2 says, Jet, on Roxy's 300th show, you said you wanted 300 Roxys. Did you consider how many 2 a.m. phone calls you would get from 300 Roxys? If not, do you want to reconsider?
First of all, I love your name and the fact that you have a little icon too. That is perfect for Gizmo First Blood Part 2. It made me laugh. Second of all, I did not consider that at the time. That I would need 300 jets to be able to handle those 2 a.m. phone calls. So
Do
that's
I
a
give-
really good point.
I feel like, what, do I emergency 2 a.m. call you a lot?
Not emergency. You just generally 2 a.m. call me a lot. They're not emergencies. They're just like we end up chatting for an hour.
Well, that's when you're awake.
It is.
Okay. Cinema Garia in the Streamlab says, we know in this business we have to work with people of different beliefs, be the bigger person, etc. But Ray had a deal for a solo film and they all kept threatening it because he was speaking up for others on set like Gal, Grips, etc. Everyone else kept quiet. Yeah, I mean, I have seen a lot of people online who are seemingly now coming after the people who did keep quiet. And I don't think that that's fair because everybody has to make their own decisions in life. Everybody has to decide what their priorities are. And, you know, people who are coming after Gal right now for not attaching her name to something, remember, she has a family and children and a life to look after as well. And in the same way that I am never going to be upset with Ray for coming forward for what he believes and feels, I don't think it's right that people are attacking Gal or Momoa or anybody online for not coming forward.
I also think, you know, in regards to how people treat other people on set, not just the actors, but like you just said, like Grips or anybody who crafties, whatever. Some people don't feel the same offense as other people. So if someone's like saying something to a craft service person and Ray Fisher feels like it's inappropriate or rude, the craft service person might not feel the same way. They just be like, oh, you know, like whatever. They may not care. They may not be offended by it. So I think that, you know, it's tough to put yourself in somebody else's shoes and then stand up for them when they, one, maybe don't feel offended, or two, don't feel like getting their name dragged into any sort of thing.
Yeah, absolutely agree with you, Jet. Let's close out the show. What?
You agreed with me. Yes.
Let's close out the show by taking any last Streamlabs, streamlabs.com/RoxyStrider super chats, and of course, talking about what the fuck is going on with Armie Hammer. So, for those of you guys who do not know, Armie Hammer officially left the movie he was on with J-Lo after text messages were revealed that were very strange about Armie Hammer like flirting with women about sucking their blood, or I don't even know exactly how to describe it. I will look up some of these specifics, but Jet, in general, how are you feeling about this Armie Hammer situation? Do you think that this is going to actually negatively affect his career?
No, I think his acting is going to negatively affect his career because I don't think he's a particularly good actor. One that Hollywood has tried to prop up for about a decade is the next big male lead star and has never worked out. So I think that's what's ultimately going to sink him. They're weird for sure, but I think that there's plenty of weird sexual kinks that people have and look at it and go, oh, that seems about right for somebody who's, you know, rich and handsome and in Hollywood. I mean, if he's actually been sucking on people's blood or eating people, then, you know, that's a serious problem. And he needs to, you know, go to jail for eating people because that's not allowed.
So Armie Hammer's ex, Courtney Vuskovic, apparently spoke up a couple of hours ago and said he wanted to barbecue and eat me. So this is coming from Page 6. Armie Hammer's latest ex-gal pal says their romance was like dating a wannabe Hannibal Lecter, as the Hollywood star's idea of pillow talk was fantasizing about which of her body parts he would like to roast and devour. He said he wants to break my rib and barbecue and eat it. App founder Courtney Vuskovic exclusively told Page 6, fuck, that was weird, but you never think about it again, she said, of overlooking the odd behavior at the time. He says, I want to take a bite out of you. If I had a little cut on my hand, he'd like suck it or lick it. That's about as weird as we got. So it seems like this is a real kink of his, sucking blood and talking about barbecuing people. I have to say, I'm not a kink shamer. You guys know that, but I don't. This is a bizarre one, and it depends on, like, exactly like Jet said, how far this is going. Is he messaging women consensually and having these conversations, and it's also their kinks, or is he putting fans or women in uncomfortable positions by saying these things and it's not consensual? Is he actually eating people?
That'd be bad. That would be bad. You can't eat people. It's also giving, I said to this to you pre-show, that's giving fuel to these QAnon psychos theory that Hollywood elites eat people.
It's really something. And, he says he wasn't the project. He dropped out of the project apparently. And because he didn't want to leave his children at this time. I mean, do you think, I know you made the joke about his acting, but do you honestly believe that he's not going to be affected by this?
Yeah, he's rich and white and handsome. I don't think he's going to be affected by it. I think in 3 months' time, no one will be talking about it.
Okay. Well, I don't know.
Do you think he's going to be? I mean, if it's found out that he's a cannibal, then yeah, he's certainly going to be affected by it.
I don't know. His quote at the time was, "I'm not responding to these bullshit claims, but in light of the vicious and spurious online attacks against me, I cannot in good conscience now leave my children for 4 months to shoot a film in the Dominican Republic. Lionsgate is supporting me in this, and I'm grateful for them for that." I feels like at first he was trying to deny that it was even happening, but then
he just seems like he's got some weird sexual kinks. Like, I mean, I've seen enough porn stars who say that they like to be peed on to think that anything is fair game.
Yeah, but I do believe it is different to like to be peed on than to, because they're not saying they like to be peed on. They're getting peed on. I mean, is he barbecuing people's ribs? I don't think so. I
don't think so, because I think that at some point there'd be some sort of murder investigation going on here that would have led back to Arnie. I have a hard time believing someone who's that shitty of an actor would be able to cover up.
I don't think he's a shitty actor. That is so weird that you are so stuck on that.
If he's eating people, he is like a world-class criminal who to this point has not been caught. I have a hard time believing that. I don't have a hard time believing that somebody could have a really weird sexual kink.
If you guys have any comments on this, please let me know. Streamlabs.com/RoxyStryer or right here in the super chat. In the meantime, we do have Ace Streamlabs from Cinemagoria who says, "I don't know about the haters nor fans, because that's where people don't understand the business and contracts. As a brown immigrant like Gal and Momoa, I too had to keep quiet. Zack Snyder too. But now I'm empowered by all who preach and represent. All allies are welcome and needed." Thank you, Cinemagoria. I appreciate that and happy to be an ally. And thank you for sharing your experience with us. We are getting out of here, guys. I know we went all over the place today, so thank you for sticking with us. And thank you to my brother, Jet Stryer, who looked like at one point he was going to puke when we were talking about things that maybe he was uncomfortable with, for making his way through the show anyway. You did a great job, Jet, and I appreciate you always joining me for these challenging conversations. Jet, I know that you have been doing coverage of the Celtics and sports in general on your page. So where can everybody keep up with you? Where can they find you? And what's going on this week for you?
Jet Stryer is my Twitter handle. I tweet a lot, and I've been retweeting all my show appearances, and youtube.com/Jet Stryer is my YouTube channel.
I want to give some shout outs to you guys, just saying goodbye to everybody because I didn't give shout outs to people in the chat today. So as we get out of here, Matt Link, Weston Ira, Andrew Thomas, Avi Vitzmans, Matt, Lemmy Kilmister, Jameson Bognuda, Mark Jason Ali, Jesse Ray Whipple, Spidey Sensei 72, John Bainbridge, Jake Yacovetta, Rob Fishback, Brittany Parker, Thunder God Cairo, Danny Ramirez, Andrew Thomas. Hopefully I hit a lot of you guys. Cinema Garia, Swole Hero. You guys are the absolute best. DK, thank you for hanging in with us for this entire show. Garth McMurray, Murderanta, Carl Maxey, Matt Munoz, all of my people. You guys are incredible. Thank you for being here. Again, thank you to Jet for joining us as well. Don't forget, guys, Red Dogs. Just trying to make sure everybody feels seen and heard. I know that it is a challenging time, and you can make your time a little bit easier by reaching out to people. I always encourage you guys to reach out to your friends, anybody who might be struggling during this time, which really could be anybody. Make sure you make your bed. It's a great way to start your day. Put the toilet seat and lid down. We don't want those plume/flumes flying around. It's disgusting, and we learned about it. And now we can never go back. I love you guys lots, and I will see you tomorrow for episode 306 live at the Roxy.